Smile, dude. He got $1 million smile, that guy.
Let's see. Setting up your webinar on YouTube.
Smile, dude. You got $1 million.
All right, you guys. We just are coming straight out of our joking break room, where we're having a little bit of jokes, and before, always a good time with my guys here on Coach's Conversation Cafe. Today we are focused on trying to lead in a way that is with truth, and so leading with truth is our topic. Man, I explain this every week, but I'm gonna, just in case somebody's a first time listener, I'm gonna tell you guys, we don't script this stuff. We're just having a conversation. We may not even end up where we start, to be honest. But the idea here is that we are still trying to feed you guys some good spiritual food, good knowledge. We're just trying to feed things that are going to build up different people out there, specifically coaches, and everywhere in the world locally. We want to be able to try to give it to you guys in a way that's helpful. All right. So today I have Coach Buckley, Coach Rodriguez, Coach Valencia, and we're going to kind of do a roundtable on this conversation. So I think a good starting point, because everybody will have their own ideas for what this means. I'm going to just maybe like a 1 minute spill for when you hear this term, leading with truth, like what does it ring for you? Like what does it mean for you? How would you sum up this idea? And so Adam, I'm going to go with you first. Like what do you think? What does that mean to you, leading with truth?
Well, I think it's good to see everybody, but I think for me, it always comes down to character, and it comes down to competence.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about those two areas, when we look at character as a coach and how we, set ourselves up in terms of our leadership style, whether we're coaching at the younger levels from elementary to high school, I think it's so important to really take a look at our own character. And when I think about competence, it's obviously, understanding that it's evolving all the time. When I think of, just competence in general, how do we continue to educate ourselves on the students that we're coaching? So there's a couple of things. Again, when I think of truth, I always think of trust. I think of character. I think of competence.
Okay. Keith, what about you?
Thanks for having me, Isaac. Hello, everybody. Great topic. What I think about truth is exactly that. I always appreciated as an athlete. I know that when coaches were honest with me, and as a coach now, the roles are reversed. I try to be honest with my players and let them know where they stand in the program or what they're able to contribute. Positions are important depending on what sport you play. Letting and being truthful with them and saying, look, this is where we see you. This is where we think you do best. And they respect that. I find that they respond to that well. This is a different caliber athlete now than we had years in the past. They're smart. They're smart. They see through coaches, and you try to snowball them, and they're going to see past you. They're going to see through you. And so I think honesty, leading with truth is just that: being truthful, being honest with your players, and letting them know where they can contribute, where they fit into your program. And they may not always be happy with it, but ultimately, as long as they're contributing and you're honest, you can always go to bed and put your head in the pillow and know that you've been truthful.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Isaac. It's great to be here, and man, this is a great topic. And I want to just again add on to what's already been said by Adam and Keith. To me, athletes want genuine coaches that are genuine, coaches that you can trust, and coaches that are going to do the best for you to make you the best that you can be. And one of the things that I would add to this as well, for me, leading by truth has a lot to do with my faith. And I feel like God put me in this position to be a light to these kids. And that means be a good role model and do the things that God's asked me to do. Did I always do it? No. Especially in the early part, you get caught into the competition and all that. But I think as I matured, and I always had that, Lord, what am I here for? It wasn't just about winning, even though we were successful many years because we had talent. But more importantly, it's the connections with the kids. It's that they can trust you. They know that coach is going to give me his best, and he wants me to give my best. And just being truthful with them and somebody they could trust in. That's what kids are looking for today, athletes.
Right. Yeah, very good points from all three of you. For me, leading with truth is all about being able to have a certain kind of insight, right? So a certain kind of way of being able to know, like, this is what's going on with me. This is what the experience is it is right now, right? So right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and really being open with myself about the position that I'm in. And so sometimes it's not pandemic, sometimes it's hardship in my family, sometimes it's hardship with understanding other players, or whatever that scenario is. As a coach, it's just some challenge, like or sometimes I'm good at it. Whatever that scenario is, being able to be honest first on the inside with what's going on. Yeah, I like that word, authentic. And then second, after that, it's being able to share that. Right. So truth happens inside of us first, right? At first, knowing what's going on, but then it happens with our translation of the truth too. Can I share it? So for me, it's really, two ideas there that kind of go into being able to lead with truth, right? And so knowing what it is that I have going on, and then two, being able to share that.
I think too, Isaac, along those lines, I mean, you have to take a look at, including your own integrity. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your own integrity as a person,
right?
And your motive and how you and your intent with people. I mean, think about that, right? So, when you look at your own integrity, as I mentioned earlier about, looking at, character, looking at competence, I always think about like your capabilities, right? Your skills and results, your track record. That's really your competence. But as a whole, we're always looking at integrity, both Coach Keith and Coach Tom, I mean, talking about, a wide variety of different areas, but most importantly, again, the players are going to know, they know, and being honest up front, but really looking at your own integrity before you do anything else.
Right. Yeah. So, I think that brings up the question of, so what makes it challenging? And this is fair for us to be able to answer, because if we're being, truthful right now, we know that there have been times in our life when it was hard. I mean, maybe it was when we were a child, or maybe it is now as an adult. There's still challenges. And so, what makes it challenging to be truthful, to lead with truth? One of the things that I'll start out with, leading the answer to this question is, I think a lot of times we're worried about the emotions of others. Like if I say what my truth is, the emotion somehow of the people who I'm giving truth to won't fit with where I want, what I want to face. And so I would say that's one thing that kind of would make me apprehensive, or has made me in the past apprehensive about giving truth.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think also too, the challenge has always been, as men, we don't want to open up sometimes. It is the same with our wives. We don't want to open up with our athletes because, hey, we're the coach. The old scenario, the old time coaches, it was like, man, you didn't get into that stuff. It's just all about playing the game, doing what you got to do. And now I think kids are more receptive to coaches that are willing to be vulnerable. Guys, hey, I just want to, man, I had a rough day yesterday, and I didn't have a good, we didn't connect. My wife and I, we had an argument or whatever, and I may be feeling a little grouchy today. And being able to, we don't share our feelings. Men don't do that. But I think today's kid respects that we're vulnerable and we're able to share ourselves.
Right. Keith?
Yeah, excellent point, Coach. Why are we reluctant? The truth hurts oftentimes.
Mhm.
The old saying, the truth hurts, and it's quite often not what we want to hear. So we know that as coaches, that sometimes if we say the truth, there might be hurt feelings, as you alluded to, Isaac, and we know that it may be something that they don't want to hear. So we're reluctant to share something that's someone else doesn't want to hear. I think it's just part of human nature. And it's important. And as we touched on before, the players that we're dealing with now respect that. Like Coach was saying, they respect that, and a little vulnerability can go a long ways now, as opposed to the past, as Coach alluded to, and that's kind of how I feel on it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have a good balance, right? We talked a little bit about this last week, and it's trying to find that balance. Do you want to sit there and you don't want to go to the extent of being their buddy, but you also want to go to the extent of being able to share and find the common ground, find the right time to do that. Find a part of practice at the very beginning, as I shared last week about checking in. Check in with your players at the very beginning. Check in so they get used to that and there's some consistency. Because the last thing you want is one day to be on and the other day to be off. And you can't have that passive aggressiveness with players. One day be the buddy and hey, how's it going, guys? And the next day you're ticked off or whatever, you're fired up and you're not really sharing. So one of the things that I've always set up as a coach is the opportunity for us to really, do the horseshoe, where everybody is in a shape of a horseshoe, and we're facing each other. And that's our time to share. That's our time as a coaching staff to share what's on our mind, what we're going to work on today. And if anything, it's just to say hello, but be consistent with the players. And especially when they're so young, they depend on that. They depend on us to be on all the time. That's the challenge of a coach. You can't have an off day. We always got to remember that as a coach, we got to be on every day. We're on stage every day as a coach. And that means something to me. That always meant something to me, that I got to be ready to go. I got to have a smile. Things aren't going well at home or whatever it may be. Something happened, flat tire, whatever. I got to come ready to go. And I got to have that smile, because that's what they expect. Mm-hmm. And, those expectations run really high, but that's the role you take on as a coach.
Right. I like that. You can have an off day, right? So even if you have an off day, we better know how to turn it into an on day, right?
That's right.
we have some young ones, some young people really looking at us and waiting to see what's next. So we have a couple more questions that, I want to make sure we get to and get everybody out of here by 1:30. Here is the next one is, what's the benefit of giving truth? And everybody will have their own outcome for this, but what do you think would be the benefit of you leading with truth? What's the benefit? Adam, I'll start with you on that.
Well, the benefit is that, again, we're trying to gain the trust of our players, and that's established really early at the very beginning. And you as a head coach, it's your responsibility to set the stage, to set the culture. We always talk about culture, right? We got to change the culture, or we got to build the culture. Well, you set that from the very beginning. And again, as I've shared earlier, the expectations are very high of us as coaches. That's automatic. Parents look to us, faculty, administration, and most importantly, the players look to us. And so it's really important that you set that culture early. But again, I can't get away from consistency. You've got to be consistent in all that you do. If that's something you have to think about before practice, or, it really takes a lot of planning, everything we do, and being well organized. I always have to credit Coach Buckley all the time for being so organized. And, sometimes, he doesn't even reflect on that. I'm sure he thinks about it now because we remind him, but he provided that for us. He provided that for us. And that's an important part. So in creating that culture, being consistent, displaying that compassion, but the players are expecting us to do that.
Keith?
I think one of the main things you gain with your players when you're honest with them is you gain their respect. And in dealing with athletes again today, there's so many things pulling at them that if you fail to gain their respect, they might not be around very long. You might not have them. There's a lot of other things to do, So, again, Adam touched on a little bit about you don't want to be their buddy, but because you're not, but you're a mentor,
Right.
and you can be a mentor and a coach that has their respect. Okay, and that's crucial because again, the truth may hurt initially, but when you're dealing with a coach who knows that you feel is giving it to you straight, what the parameters are, what you have to do, and it's just natural that respect's going to come from that, and there's an honesty that gets built there in your culture of your program, and respect and honesty, I feel are pillars of having success as well, because it's going to spread to your staff as well. You can't do it by yourself. You got to have your staff that's also looking to build respect through truth and honesty through truth, and how they deliver it's important as well. So when you're firing on all those cylinders, truth, respect, gaining honesty with your staff, and it's interchanging with your players, man, only good things can come of that stuff.
Right. Yeah, Coach Buckley.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Trust, honesty, just, when you're building a culture like that, you get buy-in. You get buy-in from the athletes, you get buy-in from the parents, you get buy-in from the community. They know what you stand for, setting a vision for your program or whatever, you're doing. And the athletes know they can count on you, that the promises you make or the things that you say, you're going to follow through with. They know that they can count on your word. And I think that's big. And when you get that going, and especially I think of, when I was head of a program, I tried to create that with not only players, coaches, and parents, but also my groundsman, my janitor, giving them hats and making them feel a part of the program. And they knew that, hey, we can count on Coach Buckley or whatever, and I think just building that culture, and like you guys have already said, just you get respect, you get trust, and people know, especially parents, they know that their kid's going to be safe in your program. You're going to do what's best for them. And yeah, sometimes you might have to tell them the honest truth, and maybe they're not getting playing time, but they respect it because they know that you're giving them as much opportunity as anybody else on the team.
Right. Yeah, I always think that whenever, so I always say the two things together, the truth hurts, but the truth will set you free, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a cost for being free, but it goes with it. So if I'm living, and we talked about home first last week, but if I'm living the same way at home that I am coaching, then I'll be fine. That's truthful. That's honest. It's consistent, right? Like, and so I'm free in that moment. It frees me up to be to really realize my talent as a coach. And so it keeps me from having to do the double life scenario where I'm showing up in charge and I'm really not, and so that truth is a really big deal, I think, on the inside for us whenever we can give it. The second thing that I think is helpful or benefit from it is that there's a whole lot of predictability, and there's nothing like having somebody in your life that's leading you that's predictable, right? Now, when they're not leading you, it's a different story. I mean, that's probably the idea, but whenever they are in your life and they're leading you, we want to know that what they're going to do is already something we know they're going to do, right? And that helps us to follow better. All right. We don't have to even worry about getting thrown off. We don't have to worry about where they're going. We know what's going to happen. And so those two things is, one is, being able to be free as a person, and then two, being able to be predictable. Okay. All right. So the how, I mean, to me, it's the biggest thing for us to give our coaches listening when we talk about nuggets. We're about to drop them now, so everybody can tune in at this minute here, where, you know, the how, you know, so what are some things that we've done as coaches to really kind of create that honest leading with truth idea. I'll go with you first, Coach Buckley.
Yeah, I think we covered some of that already. I think, like Adam had talked about, one of the things you can usually do that is check in with your players. You're constantly checking in, whether it's the beginning of practice and during warmups or whatever. You're talking to them, checking in with them. That lets them know that you care about them, that you're thinking about it, asking them questions about other things than just the sport, maybe, and taking an interest in them. I think, you know, other things you can do. One of the things I did in my later coaching, which, man, really turned into something powerful, was we called it the oh gosh, I forgot the name of it now, but it was a spotlight time at the end of practice. Bring kids together. We talk about, okay, these are the things we covered. These are, you know, this is what you got to remember for tomorrow. We got a game coming or what. Give them all the details. But then I'd pull out one player and bring them up to the front, put my arm around them, and I'd say, okay, what makes this player so special on this team? And you can't say anything about athletic talent, batting average, any of that stuff. What makes him special for this team? And you usually start with the guys that, you know, aren't playing a lot in that, and just to see the team come together. And even freshmen that I'm dealing with, you know, they're like, at first I was a little worried about what are they going to say? Yeah, he's got nice hair or whatever, you know, but they would actually say some pretty neat stuff. And, you know, like, hey, I really appreciate that when I'm walking down the hall, you say hi to me. You know, I really appreciate that you help me with my homework, or, you know, my parents are late, you give me a ride home, your parents give me a ride home, whatever it is. But they come back and they feel so much a part of the team that they're validated now. And just built some team togetherness that I didn't expect what I saw.
Okay, cool deal. Adam?
Yeah, I think very good, Coach. I like that. I think for me, it's always been about assessment, right? I'm a big assessment guy. So, you know, as a coach, you have to be clear on what you're going to be assessing the players on. And, you know, I would want to share this to all the coaches about having an assessment. Be very clear on your assessment piece. But also, when you have an assessment, you got to be prepared to provide whatever areas they need to work on. You got to be ready to provide that. So if you're working on hitting or you're working on catching, whatever it may be, that's your job, is to provide a full assessment. But always remember to be very clear at the very beginning of what your expectations are as a coach. And again, having a good, you know, I always call it an action plan. What's my action plan for players that are struggling? That means we got to stay after practice and we got to work on hitting, or we got to work on catching, or we got to work on swimming an extra lap, whatever it may be. So we're in a position to be successful, not just as a coach, but again, setting the expectations for the players. We want to set them up for success. And that starts at the very beginning. You know, I can't, you know, emphasize how important that is, that your organization as a coach is important, but your assessment to let the players know where they stand from day one and know what you're going to be looking for. So our antennas, as we always say, the players' antennas are up. Well, our antennas need to be up. So we're making sure that we're providing them with the best support that they need so they can be successful.
Okay. Keith?
Wow, great stuff. Hard to follow any of that. Woo! I'll take a stab at it.
I'll make you number one first whenever we ask the question.
Yeah, thanks. No. How do we do that? How do we lead with truth? Well, you know, by example. You know, by example. You know, these kids, you know, I've talked about some radars. We've talked about these kids being able to sense things and see through you. You know, so lead by example. You know, have it. Try to live an honest life, a truthful life. You know, whether in some sort of faith, some sort of spirituality, you know, what have you. You know, so again, you touched on that, Isaac. So you don't have to do the double life thing. You know, you're just being yourself. You know, you're being yourself, and kids are going to sense that. You know, and then you give off a what I like to term as a healthy positive, not a false positive. You're not blowing smoke up anybody's rear end. You know, you're giving off a healthy positive, and again, they sense that. when you're being healthy, when you're being positive in a healthy manner. And I've also found that, you know, a lot of technique that works, you know, with Adam and I, with connecting with these kids and the coaching that we've done together, is that we laugh with them.
Yeah.
You know, we laugh with them, and we have moments where we have humor, and that humor bonds us. You know, and it's not anything, you know, negative, bad, dirty type of humor. Good, solid, just good, solid, fun humor. You know, and a couple of chuckles, and that little bit helps with uniting your team, and letting these players know, hey, coach is human too, and he got a sense of humor. You know, he's a good guy. You know, so
that creates that
That's
authenticity
good.
Coach Buckley was talking about earlier. Yeah, okay, perfect. So here's a couple of things that I know, you know, I've used in the past that I really had fun with, you know, as far as giving truth. One is, you know, a commitment as a team to being able to just be honest with each other. You know, I think anytime we can help each other that way, it elevates everybody around us. Right. Whenever I'm willing to tell my teammate the hardest thing possible, it makes us better. Right. When I'm able to receive the most challenging thing possible, it makes us better. And so giving truth as a commitment is our, you know, one of the program ideas that I think is really useful. The second thing that I think goes along with that is, and this is probably harder to do it if you have a huge team, like maybe in football, but in basketball where you have, you know, 12 to maybe 16 players, I gave each one something like what you were talking about, Adam, as far as the assessment goes, but it was basically different categories, and then the version of skills that we do already that would help them if they focus on with that. And then on there though wasn't just a skill piece; it was also how you can lead better, right? So some of the things that we want to see you grow in order to be better. And so what was cool about this, and I think this is a reason why I'll always say with the program that I ran at my high school, where I was coaching, was that I never had problems with parents. That was actually a parent and child meeting that we would have. So, or athlete, right? So we would have the three of us at least would sit down, and I scheduled them 15 minutes apart. So I had one coming in right after, so I couldn't go over. I wasn't gonna like soap them to death, right? Like, so basically they're just getting that information right then and there for 15 minutes, and you have the sheet and you can ask questions later or whatever, but you have it for all year long. And then I do it at the end of the season too, right? For our return, for our ones who are returning. So whenever that happened, I think that started planting a seed of like, where I think that you can help us, what you need to grow in, all those things. And that was my attempt at being honest and transparent with what I thought and saw. And so I think it was really useful to being able to build the relationship. We all sat in the room, and it wasn't a matter of like, what do you think, parents, or what do you think, athlete? This is the coach's opinion of what it is that you're doing. And so you have ability to change that, and here's the ways that you can do it. And I think that was a useful tool. In some scenarios that might create a lot of different things, like discussion about what the parent thinks and that kind of thing. And I would say leave that part out. This is just me giving to you. If you want to build on the things that I see, this is how you would do it. And so that was just me being truthful and then helping them out. All right. So I feel like that's kind of a good roundtable of, how to lead with truth, how to be able to focus in on that. It's not something that we always talk about. I mean, how many times we jump in a conversation with coaches and talk about, hey, let's figure out how to lead with truth. But I think it exists. We could all see like it exists at some rate or another in our conversations and in the things that we were doing. And so now we just have to emphasize it. And I think we become better coaches when we start thinking about different things outside of the box. Okay. So, hey, I wanted to give a shout out to Reconnecting Youth sponsoring us always to be able to do what we're doing. That's Adam Valencia and his company to be able to do that. We totally appreciate everything that you do, Adam. We are working on a few different projects. And in the coming weeks, you guys will hear us talk about different things that we have going on. And overall, like, I think you guys will see us a little bit more often. just popping out with different things that are going to help serve coaches, serve athletes, serve the community really. And it's just fun to be able to get on here. Adam, did you have any other follow-ups that you wanted to make
Yeah,
sure?
I appreciate that, Isaac. Yeah, definitely. And I definitely love supporting anything that we can work on that's going to help support our coaches. But a little shout out for Mount Whitney High School here in Visalia. We're going to be doing a coaching in service on November 18th. And that's going to be headed up by Coach Rodriguez and Coach Buckley. And we're excited about that opportunity. But we have some classes going with students are participating. We're already starting to see some changes in attitudes and grades and all these good things already happening. And we've only been working with them for the last 2 sessions, and we've already seen some improvement. So we're really working on a nice project together. I know Coach Rodriguez and Coach Buckley are really excited about where we're headed with the podcast and all the good stuff. So we're currently offering a training, actually starting this Thursday for Competence support training. So that's going to happen throughout the month of November. We'll be heading up another training in December. Any more information, you can visit our website at reconnectingyouth.com, and you can find more information on that. But definitely appreciate this circle and this group. We're doing some really great things, and I like to think it's cutting edge because we are working on it, and we're doing everything we can to make it cutting edge. So, but I appreciate all the work that you're doing, Isaac. You've been doing some phenomenal work, and for you to be part of our team and to really get us and guide us in this direction, it's definitely been a great piece for our company.
Yeah, so much fun. I enjoy it. I look forward to every Tuesday. You guys were on every Tuesday at 1:00. We always, every week so far, we've had some kind of technical difficulty, but the truth is, like, we just kind of push right past it. And so this is week 4, and I'm telling you, we were closer to 1:00 this time than we have ever been. Right. And so next week, you guys just look out for us at 1:00, and we'll keep pushing forward. And plus, you always have the playback that you can get at any time. And so we'll talk to you guys all soon. Make sure you guys